In this video, we're going to focus on the decision-making interface in the simulation. To start making decisions for your company, go to Decisions in the menu. From there, you click on Launch the Web Spreadsheet. This will bring you to the decision-making interface. When we click on Decisions up here, it will show you all the departments that we can make decisions in. So let's start with the Research and Development department. There are 4 areas in R&D. One is to alter products. The other one is the perceptual map, and please note that this is the perceptual map as of the end of this year. The third area is material costs, and the fourth area depicts products' age profiles. Now, the first area is where you will redesign your current products and design new products. For your existing products, you are able to redesign them by changing their performance, size, or reliability. Okay, their MTBF, mean time before failure. Please also note that there are 3 empty spaces. This means that you can create up to 3 brand new products for your company. You should make decisions regarding the performance, size, and MTBF of your products based on what your market segments value. And you can find this information in the Capstone Courier. Let's take a look at an example. Let's say that we want to improve our high-end product. This is our high-end market segment here, and the high-end product is Atom. And we want to improve the product by increasing the performance and by decreasing the size. So let's say we increase performance by 1 unit and we decrease size by 1 unit from 12 to 11. And let's say we think that our customers are happy with the current reliability, so we choose not to change the MTBF. When we are done with our changes, we click Recalculate. There are now a few things that happen. First of all, the simulation displays a revision date. This is the date that your new product is ready to be launched in the market. It also gives you an age, and it's very helpful to look at the age profile for this. So when we look at the age profile for Atom, we can see that at the start of this year, Atom was perceived as being 1.7 years old. It then continued to age month by month throughout the year until we are in September and our new product launches. When a product is repositioned on the perceptual map, consumers perceive the age to be cut in half. So the simulation suggests that on the launch date of our new product Atom, our consumers are going to perceive it to be only 1.2 years old. After September, it continues to age until it is 1.5 years old by the end of this year. We can also see the change on our perceptual map. Our new product Atom is going to be right here. You can see that it has improved. It is now smaller in size and larger in performance. Finally, we can also see that there is a change in the material cost. This is a better product that we are making. It is higher performing and it is smaller. So it's going to affect our material cost since we will have to use better materials. Our material cost moves from 15.53 to 16.02 after the revision. There's 2 more things that I want to point out. First, if you redesign a product in R&D by changing the reliability of the product, but not repositioning it on the perceptual map, age is not affected. Your consumers only perceive a product to be newer if it is moved on the perceptual map, meaning you have to change either the size or the performance. So let me demonstrate this to you. Let's say I want to change my low-end product, Acre. We know that it is our low-end product because it is in the circle on the perceptual map that represent what low-end customers like to buy. Let's assume that I do not want to change its positioning, but I do want to lower the MTBF from 14,000 to 13,000. I click Recalculate, and you can see that this revision launches pretty quickly, only 2 weeks into the year. However, age is not going to be affected, And we can see this clearly in the age profile for Acre. Acre is 4.6 years old at the start of the year, and it continues to age throughout the year until it's 5.6 years old. There is no change in age because we have changed the MTBF. Second, if you make very large changes in R&D, it can be that your product needs to be in the R&D department for more than a year. And when that happens, you will not be able to make changes in R&D for that product next year. Let's say we have reconsidered and we want to change the performance to 9.5 from the original of 8 and the size to 10.5 from the original of 12. When we recalculate, we can now see that this change is so big that our product will not be able to launch in the next year. Rather, it launches a year and 2 months from today. If we decide to keep this as is, we will not be able to make changes to Atom in R&D next year because it will still be in R&D for the changes that we've put in this year. So that's an overview of the decisions you make in the R&D department. Let's go to the next department, which is marketing. In the marketing department, you are going to control price, your promotion budget, your sales budget, and you also will have to forecast how much of these products you think you're going to sell. In terms of price, remember what price you put in needs to be based on what customers are interested in and what you can afford to offer them. While a low price can help you increase your volume, it may also cause you to be unprofitable. So you have to be very careful weighing these multiple factors. Your promotions budget covers your advertising. How much are you going to promote your product using any form of media that helps your customers be aware of your products? This could be billboards, radio, TV, internet, anything. It doesn't really distinguish between the type of media that you will use. In your sales budget, you're going to drive accessibility, which means really you're going to build your channels of distribution. This is going to improve your sales because you are investing more in outside salesmen and you're making things easier for outsiders to work with you. The simulation provides you with a benchmark prediction in terms of how many units it thinks you will sell. You should never use this benchmark prediction for forecasting. And actually, when you click on this little information button, it will tell you not to use it for forecasting. It says it here, it's useless for forecasting. And this brings us to forecasting. You would always need to enter your own forecast. If you leave this field blank, the simulation will use the benchmark prediction. But you always want to put in your own number. And we're going to talk about how to forecast more later. Finally, there are also fields here for accounts receivable and accounts payable. You can play around with these, but they also affect your finance page. They can affect your forecast, and payables can affect production. So these are, I would say, more advanced concepts that I would not focus on in the beginning, but they may be useful if later on in the simulation you have excess cash. So let's take a look at an example. Let's assume that I am going to put in a simple forecast for my product Able for the traditional market based on last year's sales and how much the traditional market is going to grow. So to find that information, I would go to Reports, I would go to the traditional segment, and I can see here that next year the segment is set to grow 9.2%, and I can also see that I sold 961,000 units. So what I would do is I would do 961 times 1.092 to incorporate the 9.2% growth. And this would give me a forecast of 1049. Let's round it up to 1050. So I was going to put that here. This is my forecast. Now, when you're really going to forecast, you're going to take more things into account. But to keep it simple today, I just did this very simple forecast. Now, when we go to our next page, production, so that forecast that we just put in for Able, it now appears here in our production decision interface. And how much you are actually going to produce is totally up to you. So you control your production schedule. And you can see that there is a difference here between your production schedule and your production after adjustment. This is what you're actually going to produce. It takes into account that, for example, at some point in time, a line wasn't working because there was a technical issue, or there were not all materials to produce your products were delivered. So your production after adjustment is always going to be a little smaller than what you put in your production schedule. But what you have available for sale will be your production after adjustment and your inventory on hand. That's what consumers will actually be able to buy from you over the next year. Then we have this middle section here where you can see how much of your second shift production you are using. Are you just using one shift to produce your goods, or do you have to use the second shift? What your labor costs per unit are and your material costs per unit, as well as the contribution margin of your products. In the physical plant section, you control how much you can produce. A first shift capacity of 1800 means that your production plant can produce 1800 units per shift, and you have always the ability to use 2 shifts. With a first shift capacity of 1800, you can really put in a production schedule of up to 3600 per year, and these are in thousands. If you think that over time your capacity will not be able to accommodate your production schedule, you can buy more capacity here by entering a positive number. Just be mindful that it takes a year to build capacity. So even if you invest in capacity this year, you will only be able to use it next year. And if you think you need less and you would like to sell some plants so you can get cash back, you can put in a negative number here. Contrary to buying capacity, which takes a year, selling capacity is immediate. When you sell plant, you get 65% back of your original investment. You just want to avoid buying capacity that you don't think you will use long term. Then we have automation here. Automation makes your line run more efficiently. And it's an indication of how many machines are doing the work versus laborers. Less laborers means less production costs, which means higher margins for you. However, if you automate more, it does increase the times that your products need to be in R&D for revisions. And then finally, the next screen where you will be making decisions early on is the finance decision interface. You need to finance any plant improvements, and also you need to make sure that you have positive cash at the end of the year. This is your cash position at the end of the year as of now. In the finance decision interface, you can issue stock, selling partial ownership of the company, or you can sell a bond. Essentially, that's long-term debt where you get to use money and you promise to pay interest and the cash back when it comes due in 10 years. High-performing companies will have to pay a lower interest rate because the risk for the buyer of the bond is lower. The simulation will give you your interest rates, maximum amounts that you can raise. So for example here, this is the maximum bond issue that you can do this year, and this is the maximum stock issue that you can do this year. If you want to see how much you can borrow in current debt this year, just type in a really large amount here. And it will tell you what the maximum value actually is. So as we mentioned earlier, you can see your current cash the day before you make your decisions and your cash position a year from now. You always want to make sure that you end up in a positive cash position, because if you run out of cash, you will need an emergency loan and you will be charged pretty hefty interest rates on that one. The cash position at the end of the year is not a given. It's not guaranteed that that's actually going to be the number. It's based on your forecast. And so the accuracy of this number here is directly dependent on how accurate your forecasts are. So forecasting is very important, and we are going to talk about that more later. Now, the other thing that's quite important is how you should be saving your decisions. Every time you hit recalculate, the simulation will save this as draft decisions. And when you go to File, you can also click here on Save Draft, or you can update your official decisions. The simulation will only process official decisions. So let's say that a deadline is coming for you to upload decisions for processing. If they're only uploaded as a draft, the simulation is not going to process them. You have to specifically tell the simulation to upload as official decisions. So let's say I'm happy with the decisions I've made. I can click Update Official Decisions, and then I would just click on All Team Decisions because I'm the only person on the team. And then I would go ahead and save. Now, if you're working on a team, it gets a little bit more complicated because every team member will basically log in to the same simulation interface, but it is totally possible for multiple team members to have different drafts of decisions. Whenever one person updates official decisions, then that's what everybody will see after that. But as long as people are working on drafts, the other team members will not see them. So next what I want to cover is also the performance. So here they are. And you'll be able to look at the performance. These are the projected financial statements based on the forecast that you currently have put in. And as we talked about it, garbage in is garbage out. So if your forecast is not accurate, your performance are going to be off. And then under reports here, when you click on front page, it opens up the Capstone Courier, all the different pages. So again, this is the document that you should be basing all your decisions on. You can also find the industry conditions report here, as well as your annual report. This annual report, you only have access to this for your company. It is an expanded annual report. You do have access to shortened financial statements for your competitors, but not an annual report as detailed as this one. At this point in time, the key is really to become familiar with the interface, to try to start to make some decisions, to try to understand the Capstone Courier and where to look in order to make good decisions. Just become comfortable with the decision-making interface.